the colony's foundation. He left to get help, but when he came back, the entire colony was gone. 115 people, no bodies, no signs of a struggle, just one word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. Over 400 years later, no one really knows what happened. If you're into historical mysteries and jaw-dropping theories, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because today we were diving into one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries: the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. A whole different world. The major European powers were scrambling for every chunk of land they could claim in the New World. England, Spain, France, all dreaming of colonies that could bring them riches and global power. Back in the late 1500s, the world was expanding fast. And that's where Sir Walter Raleigh comes in. A favorite of Queen Elizabeth II, Raleigh was given the mission to establish England as first permanent settlement in the Americas, a foothold in the New World before the Spanish claimed everything. He sent a group of settlers led by John White, who chose an island in the Outer Banks of what we now call North Carolina. The place? Roanoke Island. But Raleigh didn't go himself. Landing at Roanoke, 1587. In 1587, 115 people, men, women, and children, arrived at Roanoke, ready to start a new life. It was a risky move, but they believed in the dream of a fresh start. Among them was Eleanor Dare, John White's daughter, and she was pregnant. Food was running low. Tensions with local native tribes were rising. Survival was looking more uncertain by the day. Just a few weeks later, Virginia Dare was born. The first English child born in the Americas. She was White's granddaughter and a symbol of hope for the colony. But that hope didn't last long. Running out of supplies. As the months passed, it became obvious the colony didn't have enough resources. So John White made a tough call. He would sail back to England to get supplies. He promised to return as soon as possible. But fate had other plans. England goes to war. Just after White made it back to England, the country went to war with Spain and the infamous Spanish Armada. Every ship available was called up to defend Britain. White was stuck in England for 3 long years. 3 years of wondering what happened to his daughter, his granddaughter, and the 113 other settlers. He finally made it back in 1590, on Virginia Dare's 3rd birthday, no less. But what he found, or better yet, what he didn't find, became one of the most haunting legends in American history. When John White stepped foot on Roanoke again, there was no bustling village, no voices, no footsteps, no kids laughing, no bodies, no makeshift graves, no signs of panic, no blood, no chaos, nothing pointing to violence. Personal belongings were gone. What he saw still defies explanation. The lost colony. Coming up next, we'll explore the ruins of the lost settlement and look at the clues and the theories behind the Roanoke disappearance. Take a second to subscribe if you haven't yet, because from here on out, the story only gets weirder. The disappearance and the Croatoan clue. When White finally returned to Roanoke, what he found wasn't destruction. It was complete silence, no signs of a fight. If you're in danger, carve a cross. The colony was just gone. The empty village. The fort was still standing. But the homes? They'd been taken apart, not burned or destroyed, just carefully dismantled. And White was actually relieved when he saw the word carved. Near one of the palisades, a single word was carved into the wood. Croatoan on a nearby tree, just 3 letters, C-R-O. But what did it mean? He knew Croatoan. His native ally, Manteo, was from there. Before White had left, he'd told the colonists, "If you're forced to leave, carve a message." There was no cross. Croatoan. A clue or a dead end. Croatoan was the name of an island south of Roanoke, today known as Hatteras Island, and it was also the name of a local native tribe. To John White, this looked like a clear sign. He reportedly said, "I was overjoyed to find a certain token that they had gone to Croatoan where Manteo was born. But for reasons that are still unclear, maybe bad weather, low supplies, or pressure from his crew, White never went to Croatoan. And just like that, the only real clue ever left behind by the missing colonists was ignored." The search ended there, and the mystery began. The first theories over the centuries, dozens of theories have been proposed. Let's take a look at some of the biggest ones, some wild, others surprisingly reasonable. Theory 1. Killed by native tribes. The first theory at the time was that the settlers were attacked and killed by hostile native tribes. But that doesn't hold up. There were no signs of violence, no broken weapons, no burned buildings, no scattered belongings. And remember, the Croatoan tribe were allies. Manteo had even been baptized and named Lord of Roanoke by the English. Theory 2. Spanish sabotage. Another theory? A secret Spanish raid. Spain and England were at war, and a stealth attack would have made sense. No sunken ships, no signs of a fight, nothing. But again, where's the evidence? Theory 3. Tried to sail back. Some say the settlers might have tried to sail back to England on their own and got lost at sea. Plausible? Maybe, but unlikely. They didn't have the ships or the supplies to cross the Atlantic. And if that was the plan, why not leave a note saying so? Theory 4. Starved or died of disease. Another common idea is they simply starved or got wiped out by illness. But once again, where are the bodies? No graves, no makeshift markers. And the houses weren't abandoned in a rush, they were taken down, as if the people had calmly relocated. Theory 5. They joined the natives. Today, the most widely accepted theory is also the most straightforward. They needed food, shelter, and support. Manteo was their connection. The settlers left Roanoke and joined the Croatoan tribe. It makes sense. And the heated debate between two research teams who both claim they uncovered the real fate of the lost colony. And the word Croatoan carved into wood. That sounds way more like a direct message than some cryptic clue. The disappearance myth. For centuries, the Roanoke colonists were portrayed as victims of disaster or even supernatural forces. But the simpler truth, that they survived and became part of another culture, got pushed aside by sensationalism, myth, and even institutional racism. So, what do you think happened? Drop your theory in the comments. We could love to hear it and keep this conversation going. But the story doesn't end here. But their conclusions couldn't be more different. New archaeological digs have uncovered artifacts that may finally shed light on what really happened. Next up, we'll take a look at the latest evidence. New archaeological evidence and the clash of modern theories. For over 400 years, the story of the lost colony was wrapped in mystery and speculation, possibly marking secret English forts about 50 miles west of Roanoke in what is now Bertie County, North Carolina. But in the 21st century, archaeologists started trading guesses for evidence, and what they uncovered could change everything we thought we knew about Roanoke. The dig begins. Two groups stepped into the spotlight, each offering a very different version of the truth. The Croatoan Archaeological Society, led by Scott Dawson, believes the colonists relocated to Hatteras Island and blended into the local native tribe. The First Colony Foundation, a team of archaeologists with a completely different theory, one that paints a much more complex picture. Both claim to have solid proof. Clue number 1. John White's mysterious map. It all started with a centuries-old map, drawn by John White himself, preserved in the British Museum. In 2012, researchers from the First Colony Foundation examined it under special lighting and discovered two hidden geometric shapes painted with invisible ink. If those marks were real, maybe White had always known there was a Plan B. Clue number 2. Shards of history. Fueled by the map, archaeologists began digging in Bertie County, and they found fragments of 16th century English pottery. Some of the pieces were classic Elizabethan storage jars. Later, using ground-penetrating radar, they discovered another nearby site, again with European pottery, but there was a problem. No forts, no major structures, no tools, just a few scattered artifacts. Not enough to prove that a full community lived there for years. The First Colony's theory. According to them, the colonists split up, all in the same spot, like two cultures had lived side by side for years. Some went to Croatoan, others, following White's secret map, headed inland to build a new settlement. It's an intriguing theory, but not everyone buys it. These colonists lived. They adapted. They were forgotten by history. Scott Dawson's theory, Croatoan was always the destination. Meanwhile, over on Hatteras Island, Dawson's team uncovered thousands of European and native artifacts buried in the same soil layer, meaning they came from the same time period. And that's not real science. They found English pottery and glass pieces of firearms, writing slates, jewelry and rings, native arrowheads, all jumbled together. Dawson also points to a 1701 account from explorer John Lawson, who visited Croatoan and claimed to see natives with blue eyes who said their ancestors could speak from books, possibly a reference to English literacy. A battle of beliefs. The tension between the two camps is real. Dawson even said, "You're stealing an entire people's legacy by pretending Croatoan was just a word carved into a tree." On the other side, Charles Ewan from East Carolina University criticized the First Colony Foundation's approach. They're trying to prove a theory, not challenge it. But what about the artifacts in Bertie? Even with the finds in Bertie County, there is still no clear evidence of a permanent or structured settlement. Nothing like what's been uncovered on Hatteras Island. Some historians suggest the artifacts might have been traded among tribes or carried from Roanoke after it was abandoned, as cultural hand-me-downs. Others offer a different take. What if? Both theories are right. What if the truth isn't one side or the other one, but both? The split strategy. Theory. One of the most compelling recent theories combines all the clues. When John White didn't return, the colonists decided to split up to improve their chances of survival. One group, likely led by Manteo, went to Croatoan, where they found food, shelter, and allies. Another group, more desperate or determined, headed inland to start fresh somewhere new. But here's the kicker. What if the real mystery isn't where they went, but why they never came back? What do you think? Did they split up? All head to Croatoan? Or is there something else we're still missing? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to share this video with anyone who loves history, archaeology, or unsolved mysteries. Roanoke's legacy and why it still matters. Roanoke isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a mirror, showing us how we treat the past and how we choose to remember, fight, or forget those who came before. Is the mystery actually solved? With the evidence we have today, many believe the Roanoke mystery has already been solved. That word Croatoan wasn't a riddle, it was a message. The colonists survived, adapted, and thrived inside another culture. They may have stopped being English, but they never stopped being human, trying to live. Maybe the mystery didn't come from lack of answers, but from our resistance to accept a simple and beautiful truth, that two cultures came together and created something new. History or ideology. For centuries, textbooks taught that Roanoke simply disappeared. But why was that story kept alive, even when evidence suggested otherwise? The answer might lie in historical bias. The idea that the colonists failed because they integrated with native tribes didn't sit well with colonialist worldviews. To blend in, to leave behind European identity, to be absorbed by so-called inferior peoples, early historians didn't like that idea, so they ignored it, or dismissed it as fantasy. A living legacy. According to Scott Dawson, descendants of the Roanoke colonists may have lived on Hatteras Island for generations, alongside native communities. Some local families still carry last names that trace back to the original colony. And even European genetic markers have been identified in native populations from the area. Maybe Roanoke didn't vanish. Maybe it just transformed. A story about hope. What makes Roanoke's story so powerful isn't the mystery. It's what the mystery represents. The will to survive. The courage to leave the old behind. The connection between two cultures that shouldn't have coexisted. At its core, it's a story about hope, in the face of the unknown, pop culture, and the myth of disappearance. Today, Roanoke's become a favorite in movies, shows, and books, like American Horror Story Roanoke. But most of those stories lean into horror, portraying Roanoke as a cursed colony, destroyed by ghosts, demons, or cannibal cults. Fun? Sure. But those narratives erase the humanity of the real colonists. real people who just wanted to live. So next time someone brings up the lost colony, ask them, lost to whom? What Roanoke teaches us. Roanoke reminds us that disappearance isn't always an end. Sometimes it's a new beginning. History isn't always carved in stone. Sometimes it's carved into wood. And too often, prejudice blinds us to the truth that's been in front of us all along. Roanoke wasn't swallowed by the forest. It was embraced by it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which theory do you believe? Do you think the mystery's been solved? Or is there still more waiting to be discovered? If this story moved you, share it with a friend who loves history, archaeology, or real-life mysteries. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a like. It helps us keep bringing these stories from the past straight to you. Because sometimes the greatest mysteries aren't the ones that haunt us. They're the ones that challenge us to see history through new eyes. The colony of Roanoke may have disappeared, but its story will never be forgotten.